first-time founder, ran into debt, trying to do a lot of political jobs. I made my first million at 23. I was very interested because then I made money, I squandered money because, I was young. So I had to go back into paid employment. I remember my mom said to me then, you need to go learn how to run a business. Because then there was no paperwork. With technology, right? Speed is very important. The time to travel, the time to do the things that you want to do would happen.
Looking at the advent of artificial intelligence, how would you say this has actually helped decision making and your leadership process?
AI helps in terms of speed, but again, the interpretation still has my human element to it. It's the interpretation of the data that I see.
How do you differentiate between, data-driven decisions or data-driven answers, like you just said now, to, the human factor as to me saying, okay, I gave this actually a thought process and I'm putting this down. Hello, my name is Essien and welcome to Tech Talk. Today we will be discussing human versus machine, where technology ends and leadership still matters. But before we dive right into it, let's remember the story of Atalanta from ancient Greece. Although she was the fastest runner in her time, it wasn't just her speed that determined her victories. It was her intuition, her knowledge, as well as her strategy. Knowing when to sprint and knowing when to pause. The same can be said in today's world of a growing technology. Leadership can also be seen in the same light. Today, I'm in the studio with somebody that understands this conversation. He has over 12 years of experience in integrated marketing communications. He has worked for companies such as Due Day, Opay, Sound City, and Spice TV, just to mention a few. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the CEO and co-founder of Umbrella. Without further ado, our guest today on the show, Mr. Ayoola Ogunyomi.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you, sir. Just to, lighten it up a bit before we start asking serious questions. So I just want you to let the audience know what you do at Umbrella.
All right. Umbrella is a marketplace for startup investment and exits. Basically, what we do is we connect African founders. We connect verified African founders with investors and advisors. We take them through the end-to-end of investment. So from due diligence to investment readiness to documentation checks to verification of documentations.
Okay.
And then we pitch them into the marketplace where investors who are interested in viable and scalable startups get to see them in the marketplace. We also have a program that we do. Every Saturday we show up, bringing different operators within the ecosystem. So from founders to investors to advisors to ecosystem players to service providers within the ecosystem. They come on board and then we just talk about different conversations. This year, funny enough, we've had our calendar rolled out. And then in February, we're looking at builders, the stories that the media does not say.
Okay.
And founders that the media does not identify. They tell us the growth stories and how they've been able to take it from 0 to 100.
So I kind of do this with most of the guests that I have on the show. Looking at your portfolio, you have a very robust portfolio for, people that are watching me right here. His that large. So I just want you to, let people know how, you transitioned from where you were before you thought about, creating or being a part of Umbrella. So how did you morph from most of the companies that you worked, starting from your starting point down to where where you are today?
So I'll tell you, my story started right from the uni. I got into university, and for me, before then, I think I grew up in a family where my mom had multiple jobs.
Okay.
She was working in insurance. She had a store in Nigerian French language village. She was doing a lot of other jobs, right? For me, I think that's something I saw as a child growing.
Mm-hmm.
I got into uni. I started up my own business. It was called Niche by Ayoola Ogunyomi. I ran it for 6 years, paid my fees with that in school, hired my classmates. And I think that was the beginning of my entrepreneurship journey. Even though now we call it startup, I think that at that stage, it was running a business and the business was a startup, if I look back at it. I learned a lot in that journey, which took me into paid employment. I ran into debt. So first time founder, ran into debt, trying to do a lot of political jobs. I had the branding outfits. I had 18 tailors. I was doing branding and merchandising. I was doing graphic design. I was doing all the outfits in my uni, party outfits and the rest of it, just as a very junior entrepreneur. And then I made my first million at 23. I was very interested because then I made money. I squandered money because, I was young, and sometimes when I hear the stories of founders today squandering money, I remember the journey when I also made so much money and it was like more money will come because you were really good at what you were doing. Along the line, I ran into debt. I paid back, say 2 years or 3 years. So I had to go back into paid employment. I remember my mom said to me then, you need to go learn how to run a business, because then there was no paperwork, right? The money was coming in, it was going to an account, and it was coming out of the account, because I was paying my staff. I was paying the guys who were working for me. I was also using the money to improve the business. So we grew from one store into a very big outlet. Funny enough, I like to say the story that I also had a trade in the Yaba market.
I told you guys it's quite vast.
and it was a very interesting story at that point. So that journey took me to Saatchi & Saatchi, which was the beginning of my journey.
Okay.
But before then, while I was in school, I was working in an agency called Tall & White, owned by Ayoola Ogunyomi. So I would come back from school while my mates are playing at home. I would go to work. So I was learning graphic design. I was learning account management. Those little skills helped when I was running my business for the first 4 years of it,
Okay.
And then post NYSC, I got into Saatchi & Saatchi. That's S1U Saatchi & Saatchi. Worked there from a management training to account management. Did 4 years there. Worked in a couple of accounts, First Bank, Friends Africa, Mobile, ExxonMobil. Worked on a couple of portfolio there. But one skill set that set me aside from some of my colleagues then was I could also do graphics, which was a soft skill I picked just while I was in school. And then that gave me the edge. So I was able to do like some fine art artwork, a lot of buzzwords I'm throwing around. So then let me trade there. But fine art arts that were going on billboards, 48 sheets and the rest of it. I would do some adjustments in situations where the creative teams were very funny, and
you take it up and you
I just take it
walk
up
on
and
it.
do it. Now I'm sure that Canva is also putting them on their feet, which is some of the conversations we're going to speak to.
Yeah, just to
around
come in a little bit now, because I'm also a creative person. I do
great.
graphic design as well. I've been doing graphic design for well over 7 years plus. Now, looking at the advent of artificial intelligence that we have now, do you feel that a lot of graphic designers are going to be out of jobs?
No.
Okay, you're gonna tell us why you think they're not going to be out of jobs.
I think that even when you use those creative tools, you need to first of all be a creative, right? You need to have an eye for design.
True.
Right. So many people do that. They lump up all that. They don't understand the use of space. They don't understand use of fonts.
Yeah.
They don't understand typography. They don't understand color palettes, mixing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that
Pantone
and the rest of it. There's a lot of things that you need to understand as a creative. It's beyond just going behind the system and saying you can use the tool. I remember back then, I started with Corel Draw.
Okay.
Corel, I think I stopped on X7. And then I used to use just Photoshop to just trace out images because that's what it used to be.
Okay. It's a very old time.
Very old time.
Very long time ago.
When you go back in time. But I remember then I also had a friend who became a business partner in one of my business. And all the time while we were at the agency, because we worked at Saatchi together, Ola Jidagba, we worked at Saatchi together, and then we set up a little one-shop agency, which is still in vogue to date. And then he was also using Corel. And I remember that the rest of the guys were using Photoshop. We're always telling him, this guy, you're going to go out of season. This guy, you're going to go out of season.
Use Photoshop. I was also told that too, because I started with Canva and the rest.
You're going to go out of season. And fortunately not for him, he picked Photoshop in fact, I remember the last time we spoke, he says he cannot remember that CorelDRAW was suffering.
To CorelDRAW.
Yeah, CorelDRAW was him suffering because he would trace, he would vectorize, he would do all that. And Photoshop had these little plugins that all he needed to do was
just one click, simple.
One click, and that's all. So truth about it is that with technology, right, speed is very important. The time to travel, the time to do the things that you want to do would happen. I'll just quickly rush back on my background so that you just get a pivot of it.
Okay.
And sometimes, I think somewhere while we used to have this program at Sachi where it's called Rewind, right? It's where we come in, everybody's training each other, and I think it was my turn, and I just read then the birth of new media, the death of traditional, right? And new media then was just Linda Ekeji, Bella Naija. That's what the guys in Sachi, who were my colleagues or who were my close allies, who I asked, what do you understand by this? Oh, there's something coming to kill this traditional media. That's what we felt it was. Shortly after then, social media boom happened.
Okay.
Right? The Twitter, the Facebook, the Instagram, there was WeChat, there was To Go. There was all those niggas who came out, Friends Bar, and all those in MySpace.
All this he's calling, he's an old soul, like old soul.
Very, very young, to be very honest. MySpace, all those guys came up, right? And we've seen a lot of them phase out, right? But if they had told any agency then that they needed to pivot, they'll say no, especially guys who were in media, who were making a lot of money from billboards, who were making a lot of money from, TV ads, TV commercials. The budgets were large. Now, if you look at any marketing budgets, they're streamlined. A lot of spend go on the digital platform rather than the traditional platform. Even though the traditional guys are still making waves. They still make a case for why you have to do ATL, that's above the line comms, right? But then, because I didn't get the answer, I knew I had to step out.
Okay.
And the new media then was still there because it was new e-commerce. It was one of the first pioneer e-commerce in Nigeria. I needed to step out to that space. I needed to understand it. And then I remember when I got hired by now a friend, it was the HR then, Bola, forgotten his surname now. He said to me when he was giving me my employment letter, the way we hired you is the way we fire you.
First hand. That's so great information first hand.
Yeah. The way we hired you.
So how did you feel when you were told that?
Well, they put me on my toes. I think that statement made me who I am today. The fact that I get into a space and I know that I can be fired anytime.
True.
It didn't give me the room to be relaxed. I remember then I was still very young. I used to have a board behind my bed, a whiteboard, and every day, because again, it was new media. The only way I knew how to sell was to go to the streets, speak to people on the streets, do a billboard, do this thing. And then someone is telling me I had to make, my first target was 18 million naira. I had to make 18 million naira through that system. Just sitting behind my laptop and doing.
And it's not like you've been doing this for a long time.
This one will not buy. This person will buy this. Or this is. So again, experience comes into play because again, with my knowledge in traditional marketing space, I understood that the 4 P's of marketing are important. The 4 E's, the 4 C's.
Yeah.
Now it's 5. Some people say it's 10. Some people say it's 7. Tit for tat, to be very honest. Depends on how you see it. If you stand on the other side, it might be 9. If you stand on the side, it might be 6. Right? Depending on how you see it, or your level of experience. So I think for me, Deal Day was an experience because again, all I could do was use Microsoft Word. I got there, I needed to do a lot of Excel. A lot of data was sitting in front of me. I needed to interpret data. I needed to learn and sharpen my skills almost immediately, and which is some of the conversations I'm going to be throwing into this use of AI.
Okay.
There's still that human touch that needs to come in.
Would you say Deal Day was most pivotal in your journey?
In my journey into tech, yeah. Okay. My journey into tech, because, it was the first time I would see that if you make the right marketing decisions, then I was a planner. I
Okay.
went in as a service planner. I was planning service deals, and then I pivoted into marketing, being a marketing analyst where I was head of campaigns. So advertising experience helped in being in the head of campaign.
Let me take you back to explaining your background while you were it shows that while you were in school you were actually already into sales.
Yeah.
You already looked into entrepreneurship. You were doing stuff. You were selling
Funny
stuff.
enough, I wasn't looking into it. Let's be honest.
You were into it.
I just wanted to make money.
Hmm.
So it's two different things. I wasn't looking at it from the perspective of, and I didn't need to make money because I wasn't from a poor background. I was from a very comfortable home. My parents could pay my fees. So it wasn't anything around trying to support the family. I was just that guy
that wanted to make money.
Had a curious mind that wanted to make money.
Okay, so I want the viewers to get to understand one particular thing, because there's always something that always crops up most of the time when you're speaking to CEOs or founders. At the time where you were in debt, how was it? How were you able to get out of debt? Because I know you said you got out of debt, but you did not just tell us how you got out of debt. That's one. And my second question would be, what are the things that you... Oh God, I've lost my chain of thought. Let's just answer that one first.
Okay.
How were you able to get out of debt?
I took a paid employment, right? And I always say that the reasons why some founders still fail today is lack of experience, right? You can't take it away from successful founders. Check their background. They had some working experience, and I've worked with founders, or I've worked with a particular founder that had zero experience. And it was obvious because the company, even though it was a multi-billion dollar company, still shut down regardless, right? So you can't take out the experience. It's very important because in a working culture or in a working environment, there's culture that you imbibe. There's network. The next person you meet might be the next person that opens the door for that startup or that business that you're trying to do, and it's happened in my own situation. But how did I get out of debt? I took a paid employment. I was paying back from my little 70K, 50K salary back then. I structured it. I knew that if I needed to get out of this debt, it was a lot of money. It was in millions, and I was earning in thousand. I was earning in K. Not even 1,000. I was earning the footprints 50K plus copper money.
Wow.
Then I think it was 18.5. So you can try to picture
approximately like 70 or 69 or 68.
And I was still living the lifestyle. I was still outside, meeting people, networking. And I remember that one of the things that also helped the business at that point in time was I had a policy to meet 10 new people every day. Then I would get into a bus. I didn't have a car then, so I would get into a bus. I would make sure that I speak to 10 new people. I was meeting people.
So what it means is you actually had a structure to say, this is the things.
To get out of the depths. So I needed to meet new people. I needed to tell them what I do. I needed to know where they work. By virtue of doing that, they will give me business, or I'll brand for them. Or I'll say, I can do your birthday. Oh, when is your birthday? And then I'll do that for them. I'll do the branding. I can make some money.
Sorry, one key question. How long did it take you to, close up the debts, the space?
So it wasn't like the initial money from the production was blown, like totally blown into the air. There was a bit of money. You just needed to return back, whatever we had, plus the one that we had used in production, because the production was returned. And one key lesson, let me even say it there, one key lesson I learned is, regardless of you being an entrepreneur, never compromise on quality and your reputation. I think that was the lessons I took out from that particular debt. That could have killed any entrepreneurship spirit in me as a person, because I didn't know how to do it. At that time, my mom was still working as well. So she was able to also support in paying that debt. So it wasn't like entire debt was paid for my salary. But the chunk of it was for me to learn. It wasn't like, go and sort out your problem. The chunk of it was, you need to know how businesses run. Go and learn it. Go and see how they put their book together. Go and learn P&L, and some of those things I also saw how to bill. So the next clients that were coming, I was billing better. Right? I was, in fact, then at that point in time, there was not like VAT You just want to collect the money. If you
Yeah.
say it's if the person says, "Oh, I'm going to give you 1 million naira," for,
You just get the whole thing.
the 1 million naira sounds so good. You're not thinking about your production costs,
Hmm.
right? You're not thinking about your manpower. You're not thinking about anything. You're just thinking about 1 million naira
I tell you.
in my account
In the
I'm
bank.
a big boy, you know. so that was what it was, you know. But I started to learn, right? Agency fee, consultation fee, some little terminologies that are actual bullshit. Forgive my
pardon your
forgive
French.
my French.
So
You know, but the jargons that as a consultant,
Yeah.
you say consultancy fee. I consulted on this, I charge for this.
Yeah, and you
I
have a paper
realized
for
that
that.
my man hour also mattered. You know, for
Okay.
every billable hour that I put on a project should also amount to money. I should be able to pay myself, not being the owner of the business, but being the owner of the business doesn't mean I should just go to the coffers of the business and take money because I have access to it. I needed to separate it, pay myself at the end of the month, and also understand how to plan finance. You know, so financial model. What are the other sources of revenue? It was only one source. We needed to go to clients to give us money, but there were other sources that we could make money. We decided to do our own brand. We had at that time we had Siseko, so our own designs that we sold online. You know, through e-commerce platforms that were available.
Is Siseko still operating at the time?
Nah. I shut down that business because the market became again
Saturated.
But I think I pivoted into something much bigger than where that business was. And I didn't know how to scale the business. Again, I got scammed at some point in the business because I was trying to bring in machines from China.
Wow.
And a very good friend of mine scammed me. So again, in business, you learn everything, you know.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
It was a lot of money. It was close to, at that point in time, it was like 7-8 million. I was saying far back at 2007.
Wow.
For a 20-something-year-old guy, that was a lot of money. But yeah, that didn't also stop it. I remember also at that time, the same business, my cousin was running it.
Yeah.
And every time I would give him the production to do, you know, at the very early stage. And then come and show me where the market is so I could buy fabric. We'll be going together and all of a sudden he'll climb a bike and he will disappear.
Wow.
You know, so sometimes nobody wants to show you the route to market, you know. And I remember one day I was so frustrated. I was in Bowen. I schooled in Bowen University.
Okay.
And he was in Unilag. He was way ahead of me. He's my senior cousin. So there's no fight you can fight. There's no argument you can make.
So,
he's way older than you.
Did you have a personal conversation with him as to why he always, why did he do that?
Well, the business grew bigger than his business. That's the honest truth.
So he was trying to
grew
be
bigger.
king.
No. He at the initial, it was making money from me.
Oh.
I was making money regardless because I would bill and he would charge me. I know how much he was charging me for everything. So I would pay him, but I would still make some money. But at the point where I realized, or one day when I got frustrated, I came to Lagos and we spoke about it in the house, just randomly with my mom. And she's like, don't worry, we'll go to the market. We knew the factory where the clothes were coming from. But by my mom going to see the power of women. don't exaggerate it. Like, just give it up to them. Like, she got to the market, she spoke to the guy, she said to him, because then I think we did the branding for ICO Insurance, their 40th anniversary. That was like the job that gave me my first million.
Okay.
You know, and it was a lot. Across all their outlets, we did all their brandings, you know, all their head office, from head office to regional office to smaller offices. We did all the branding for them at the 40th anniversary. And we needed to buy the clothes in bales. The market wasn't going to give us the bales. We needed to speak to the guy who was just supplying it. I remember then we sat down in Viney Street as we were dropping the clothes. We sat down there. She saw them deliver the clothes from the vehicle, and then we went to meet the guys and say,
straight up,
who is your boss? I want to speak to your boss. I want to buy XYZ number, because we knew how many quantity that we're going to buy. And we told him, if you're able to take us there, we will give you this percentage. And that's how we knew the market.
That's very interesting. This definitely has been very interesting so far. So I just want the audience, you watching us right there, to do something very little for us back here. If you know that you're enjoying this and you're getting some sort of value from this, kindly like, share, as well as subscribe. And also, if you like to interact with us on socials, you can find us across all social media platforms at B360 TV. Man, let's get back into the conversation. This has been very, very exciting. So I wanted to ask as to, you making your first million, because a lot of people would be like, because I used to watch and I listened to Mark Cuban.
First million doesn't matter anymore. Nice. First billion.
No. But let's just start from the, the little ones first. When you made your first million, I understand that you already knew what you wanted to.
Yeah, that's right.
What you wanted to do. You already, making plans and stuff. When you made your first million, what did you think about? And what was the next plan of action? Like, okay, yes, this is what I'm going to put this money into, this is what I'm going to do. Because you spoke of, getting profits as to, 27 million and the likes. But what did you do with that first seed of 1 million?
So I'm a dog lover.
Okay.
So yeah, honest talk, right? I think that's the only thing you get from me anytime you meet me out there on the street. I like to be very honest. I don't like to come. It's never easy. My first million, when I made the money, I first took out some money, took some friends' house.
You went to Vaji.
See, it was like, this is it. I'm on my road to Zuckerberg. I'm on my road to yeah, so I went out. Something happened then. I was keep it for off the camera. I went out.
No, but you said you're going to give us a lot. You said you're going to give us.
I was saying I was seeing someone then. I think I did 1 week birthday splash. Yeah.
1 week birthday splash. You heard this here first.
But now I'm smarter than that. Now
of course,
I know that money needs to be very, very well thought out. Again, I would like to say that some people, this is my own theory. Some of us make money very early. Some of us will make it in the middle stage, and some of us will make it at the later stage of life.
True.
Right? And this is just very honest conversation. I've tried to study pattern. I study a lot of pattern. I'm a strategist.
Okay.
So I like to look at patterns, histories, culture, trends, and the rest of it. If you make it very early and you don't use it very well, you might never make it again. It takes a while for you to be able to get back on that track. If you make it in the middle, well, if you also do the same, you might never make it again. But again, the guys at the end as well, it applies across all journey. But if you do it very well, you might be able to scale all through and keep making money forever, right? What I have identified with myself was when I made that money, I wasn't thinking of just blowing alone. I had fun with the money, but I also knew some few things I needed to get to scale up my production. So then I bought a flex machine. I had a roller machine. I bought in some paints from outside the country. So when other people were using local ink, I was using foreign ink. So the quality of my prints were...
Also, you were also into branding and painting, not just graphic design. Now
that's what gave me the money. I was branding t-shirts. I was buying tailors from Cotonou. Yeah, so I had all types of machines, straight sewing, interlock, buttonholes. I was running those business. I even went into, so again, funny enough, I collaborated with a lot of people. I remember I went into a business with a friend of mine, Stanley Cox. That was his label. He had tailors. So he introduced me or opened my eyes to tailoring. And then I was this printer in his own shop. I was just the printer beside his shop. Then before I moved into my own space. But again, back to my cousin. He wasn't making money anymore because he didn't know how to scale past the person who was bringing business to him. For me, I think I learned the hard way because I was a marketer. I was the one going to the field. I was the one speaking to 10 people a day. I was the one trying to market the business. I was the one telling people what I was doing.
Yeah.
Everything was playing out for me. And I think that's the CEO role. You are first the salesperson.
Sure.
A lot of founders want to hire salespeople to do the job that they should be doing. And that's why they fail. And I speak my business every day. I like to move out. I like to tell people about it. So for me, it was easy to say, this is what I want to do. And this is how I was going to pivot the business. Even though at that stage, it's now that it seems like that was what I was doing. Then I was just buying the next machine. I was looking online to buy the next thing. And it's also fine not to figure it out, to be very honest.
Sure.
It's actually good not to figure it out because, again, people come and sound like they had it figured out from Genesis. It's fine not to even figure it out till you get to Revelation, until you start to see that these things are coming together. And you're like, okay, so that thing I did, this is what it is, you know. So, again, the way I like to say it is that I didn't know what I was doing. I was just investing.
Sure.
Even though I didn't know it was investment, I was just carrying money and buying the next thing that solved the problem that was going to do it outside. Because there were people who had that machine and I was paying them money to do it. And they would delay me. They'll delay my production. They'll delay my clients. They'll delay my delivery time. So if I could buy the machine or save up to buy that machine, I've cut that person out and I go and approach his operator. Even though it's wrong, but that's what happens in business. I approach the operator and then the operator becomes my staff and I was paying the operator way higher than what they were paying them. And in fact, if you bring a job, I pay you commission on the business.
So it's safe to say you're not just you're not just you're a business manager. It's safe to say you're also a business manager as well.
I didn't know I was a business manager,
but you are.
If you say that's what it
you
is,
know, looking at what you were doing. So it brings me to my next question. Figuring out what you wanted to do with Umbrella. Now, I understand that most founders have this issue with seed funding and the rest when they wanted to start. Now we're taking it back now to Umbrella. So how was it for you, you know, being the CEO and co-founder of Umbrella? How was it with seed funding at the time?
I like to say that my background is not investment. My background is marketing, mass communication to be precise. And then marketing comes by virtue of working in advertising agencies, marketing departments, being a digital marketer at Sound City, pivoted to Ringier, where I was head of, where I was a head of account executive, right? Senior account executive working on international brands. And then pivoted from there to Ope, and then Patricia. Ope opened my eyes to growth marketing. Because of course there I was also leading a team of few people, not a large team, but of course we had our own units where we were working on All Right, the bike aspect of it, and then pivoted from there to Patricia. I wanted to have my own startup. It was called Apate. That's the second startup in hospitality tech. When we had gone to Rwanda, tried to raise funds from there, came back to Nigeria, COVID hit. And then the opportunity came to work at Patricia. They needed someone with digital experience. I think at that time, their cost per acquisition was like $100. And then I came in and they made it $5. Yeah. So that scaled up till I became head of marketing. And then leading a team of, I think, close to 40 people. Different culture, different backgrounds, different behaviors. And then from Patricia, I moved to a digital agency, Intense. From Intense, I moved to where I lead growth and strategy, called Chain Reactions Africa, as the group strategy director. And so when I was leaving Patricia, I knew I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to do fintech. Everybody was doing fintech. In fact, sometimes I say that some of those products that you see should be features in a bank app or another, platform that is doing well. I feel like they were just duplicating effort at that point in time. And I remember there we were trying to raise funds for Patricia. So we had gone, trying to meet investors. We had done our pitch deck. I was following the entire process, and then I had a flashback again with me. I was begging God for some unique idea. I just wanted to do something different. And every day I wake up and I say, God, please just give me this idea, something different. Just give me this idea, something different. Give me something that I'll be able to have my hands in. And then one day I was driving down to work and I got a call from an investor who basically told me he was looking for a platform where he could sieve and source for startup. So he was looking for a deal pipeline. my background has taught me never to say no. If you ask me, can you deliver diesel to me right now? I'll deliver diesel to you.
I think that's the first rule of every entrepreneur. Even if you don't know how to do it, you just accept and you figure it out
feel
later.
In fact, I say to people that there's nothing you're looking for. I just need to write it on my WhatsApp status. I'm looking for this person. I will get multiple of inflow, by virtue of the number of people that I have on my contacts. So he was looking for deal sourcing, and then he was looking for a new road to Africa, because we were speaking to him at that point in time. And I'm like, do you have ideas of these platforms out of the country? He pointed me to a few of them, AngelList, and the rest of it, acquire.com. So I signed up for some of them. I was getting a lot of inbox from acquire.com. Great platform. Similar model is what we're also doing at Umbrella. Very similar, just localize the content that we do here, because we understand the local nuances across Africa. And then we've looked for some unique spottings, right? Some things that they weren't doing, due diligence, added a few things to it. Investment readiness for startups who didn't even know what an investor is looking for. We studied a lot of investment thesis across the guys who has raised. We had our own research documentations. We did a lot of white paper, just to understanding their entire ecosystem. And then I had to do a lot of courses as well, which is you need to upskill your skill sets as a founder. It's not good enough to know how to build a product. It's not good enough to imagine trying to build a product. You also need to get your hands dirty. I got myself into investments, crypto, stock market, just trying to understand how to lose money and win money. I lost some. I can understand the feeling of an investor when he doesn't get ROI on anything. There were some small businesses around me, friends who were trying to grow their business, even though some of them were SMEs, that I put in some money to their business and say, okay, I'm giving you this 1 million or 2 million or 3 million. How much are you giving me back in return? Just little angel investment, even though at that point in time, it wasn't called angel investing. It was you financing your friend's business in the real sense of it. So I learned a few things that terminologies now make me understand much better that was what I was doing. But I was just investing, and one of them turned out to be a very good business, that gave me a good return on investment. I had a few families, so again, if you come to me and say you want to do this business, I'm quick to want to support the business. I call it support. Or I'm quick to say, I want to be a part of the business, so that I can help manage the business. You do the whole paperwork, handle the whole running of the organization, but I want to be in helping you, guide you, shape you, see how the business grow. And that's what led to Umbrella.
So, looking at Umbrella now and understanding that, you have a certain level of experience as a CEO, this entails that you definitely make decisions on a daily basis. So, looking at the advent of artificial intelligence, how would you say this has actually helped decision making and your leadership process in Umbrella at the time?
So, I will say to you that even trying to draw the product journey itself, because I did the wireframing myself.
Oh, interesting.
Trying to draw that product journey, I had to use AI at that point in time as well. Asking it some prompts that I would normally not get from the front end. So, for instance, what stack or what's the journey for AngelList, which was a foreign competition. At that point in time, what's the roadmap or what's the journey or what's the business build or business model for so and so? Because again, I expect that AI goes into those platforms. I just put their website there. It gives me an analysis of it. I look at the analysis. These are things that if I had to go consult them, information might probably be withheld. I might not even have the inroad to it. AI has done all the breakdown for me. My other job was to take that breakdown and go and check again if those things were true. Okay, subscription model. Let me go on their side, verify, is there a subscription model? Not just taking the information that AI has given me as hookran and whatever, and
just, paste
and say, okay, that's the model I'm doing. I had to also look at the local content. How are African founders raising? Where are they? How do they want to raise? What are the challenges that they had? So I put out a lot of forms. In fact, as simple as Google Forms.
Okay.
I went on LinkedIn, posted it on my LinkedIn page. I'm trying to build something. I want to research, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to run a research. In fact, I was sending in message. I had to pay for LinkedIn in message. And then I was hitting people in their boxes, people that mattered. Like, so you're an LP, you're a GP, you're a financial analyst, you're a so and so. I'll send you this thing. What are you looking for when you're trying to invest? What's your thesis? What are the thesis? I'm sending you those messages. I still do them till date, and the feedback, I'm able to collate those feedback. Again, AI also helped because I took all that information. I said, 20 people answered this, 100 people answered this, they answered this. Based on this, what do you think?
What do you think?
And then I create different scenarios for me to be able to see, because again, I can't just take the answers that AI give me. I need to also refine the answers and say, what if all these guys just ticked based on the fact that they were having a feel good day?
I like the way you think.
And so that helps me, shape it. Then again, a lot of conversations. So when I have conversations with people within the ecosystem, I go back, I ask AI, okay, based on this conversation, based on my thinking, this is the conversation people are having. This is my own thought process of this. Marry and match. Mismatch, give me scenarios around this. If scenario 1 says this, scenario 2 is this, scenario 3 is this, it reduces my crisis or my risks to danger, right? So AI helps in terms of speed, but again, the interpretation still has my human element to it. It's the interpretation of the data that I see. So it's helped. When we built Umbrella, we were doing smart matching system.
Okay. And
a lot of investors that we were speaking to at that point in time told us to integrate AI. I'm not a fan of buzzwords, and I'm not late to technology. I'm very quick to technology, but in Africa, we like to jump on the buzz train, right? When everything becomes AI. In fact, there used to be a time when every fintech would tell you they are banking the unbanked.
Okay.
Right? And then now, a lot of fintech are telling you, we use AI to do so and so. So we have AI integration because they are speaking the language that investors want to hear, to be very honest.
Sure.
But for us, it wasn't about that. We didn't have the AI integration. We spoke to a couple of companies in India, in China, that were trying to help us build our model, our AI model. But they still didn't understand the local nuances. It needed to be built locally. So it was a thing of saying to my co-founder then to say, you know what, I think you need to go and start learning these AI models, AI this, how to build this, how to do that. It might take us a long time, but just understand it. You might not even need to be the one building it. Understand it, and then you speak to these guys with the local understanding that you have.
True. So that brings me down to my next question. I know there are a lot of CEOs right now that haven't really embraced artificial intelligence in the leadership process as well as their day-to-day SOPs and the rest. So, what would you, as a CEO and a co-founder, say to? I would basically quote and unquote call them old school. People that at the moment that have not embraced the use of AI. At the moment, like right now,
is the scare that, and I think I still have that scare as well. Let me pivot out CEO role, where I worked at some point, where I still work. I know that we were trying to do a strategy. So I see some strategy documents that come to me, and I can tell that this person did not even think at all. This person just took the brief, slot the brief into ChatGPT. ChatGPT gave it.
Sorry to cut you. So how do you differentiate between data-driven decisions or data-driven answers, like you just said now, to the human factor as to me saying, okay, I gave this actually a thought process and I'm putting this down. How do you differentiate?
So machine basically doesn't have emotions.
Okay.
There's no emotional hook. Right? There's no, it's like a simple analogy, right? You're trying to write a love letter to your girlfriend, right? and you go on ChatGPT and say, I want to write a love letter to my girlfriend, and then you send it. If you don't write, I want it to be emotional.
Yeah,
I want
and
to
give
be
it
this.
the
I want her
detailed
to
prompting.
cry.
Yeah,
I want her tears to come out of my eyes. I want her to be able to fall in love and still do. Put all that kind of thought process that makes it understand that this guy it seems like he wants it to be emotional. He's going to give you a formal letter.
Yeah, it's just going to paste the whole thing there.
Yeah. And give you a formal letter, right? But if you put your feelings into it and say, this is how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I'm not structured in my thought process. Help me structure it. Rework it in such a way that it's structured. Put my thoughts together. Make it sound better than my raw thoughts. You need to feed it a raw thought.
Of course.
Your raw emotions.
Of course.
Right? And then it gives you... so is it... you need to give you your raw thoughts. And then it gives you the right emotions.
True.
I remember there was a day I wanted to query a colleague.
Okay.
And if I had put down my emotions the way my emotions were, I'm sure that if that particular piece ended up on LinkedIn, I'm probably sure that nobody would hire me ever in this life again, But I was able to say that I don't think that this tone, again, people see you and say, oh, you have a tone. And you are wondering, where is the tone coming from? So you want to be sure that that tone that people have always been saying you have a tone is not there. So I'm like, okay, I don't want this thing to be harsh. I don't want it to come out as something that I will not be able to defend. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Reward this to be subtle, to be calm, to be professional.
I know I do that too for my mails. Especially when I want to. Sometimes I would say when you want to intelligently, insult somebody. So definitely maybe they're at the higher level. You just, you do a proper prompting and ChatGPT, does it for you.
Yeah. So the truth about it is that I see I don't want to say the younger generations because I'm still Gen Z.
Okay. Gen Z in what degree?
100% Gen Z.
Okay.
I might just be bowed, but I'm Gen Z. I'm Gen Z, right? So I see a lot of Gen Zs, just garbage in, garbage out. So let me give you this instance again. Someone was trying to do an application. I was trying to hire for a role for a multinational. So I was consulting for them, for their marketing department. And I was fortunate to go through a lot of applications. And this application, a lot of it, at least 20% to 30%, to be modest, had the M dash all over, written over it. M dash, M dash, all over it. I'm like, gone are the days where you take full A4. Yeah. Okay, maybe A4 is too far off. Full scarf sheets, but gone are those days. And then we went to the area where you go to computer center or business center. For those that are fortunate to have tabs now, we'll go to business center and they'll type it for you. You will not type it though. They will type it for you. Because if they fear that you'll be type on their keyboard, you'll be there for hours.
I tell you.
They'll type it for you. In fact, let me go back a bit before that era. Was the era of typewriter. And AI has always been there. Funny enough, we make it look like AI has never been there. Those things were built on some artificial intelligence.
Okay, you mean the programming?
The programming at some point. That was the level at which programming had gotten to.
Yeah,
and then programming scaled up. And programming scaled beyond that. In fact, the fact that your system can identify a grammatical error is also AI. The Microsoft Word, the fact that you could identify that you spelled this wrongly, this is what it should be. It's also some intelligence.
Sure.
Maybe not as advanced as we see it now, because where we are now is not even the bet. It's still
there's still more to go.
There's still more to come. Maybe next time when we're here, there's a mic here, but nobody sees the mic. And we're just talking to it. We don't need to set C lamps anymore.
I think that is even already.
The holograms, we don't even need to be in the studio. And AI of myself is there. My humanoid is seated here speaking to you, because he understands me so well. So I think that with that experience, just trying to hire those guys, I realized that the guys where I was willing to go with, not necessarily because they had better CVs.
Yeah.
But I appreciated the fact that they took the time. I could tell that somewhere it's the AI, but I could understand the fact that they took the time to also do proper queries to what they got out.
Yeah.
As leaders, business leaders, you still need to be able to create some governance, within your organization. AI governance, Otherwise, you send proposals or business documents or financials just trusting AI. I've seen situations where someone wants to do, in fact, startup founders, they're trying to get the best models that investors will not see X or Y.
Yeah.
And then they put in all their figures there and say, develop a financial model for me. It's not wrong in the real sense of it but again, AI works with patterns. It works with history. So it means that you need to give it a lot of history. What things like that does for you, in some real sense, in the real sense of it, is it allows you to move faster than the time you spend to do this. But you must feed it history. Your AI must be studying what you're doing.
True. Just to come in there and, because obviously this is a very interesting conversation. Trust me, I've forgotten and I've lost track of time already. So I definitely need to add this last question. We understand that today is a World Radio Day. Shout out to the old soul and the old school. So my last question, understanding that you
city
is giving us some skill there.
Music.
My last question, because I'm definitely trying to touch points at the places that you've worked, understanding that you've been a member of Sound City Radio and you've worked. So we're just looking at this AI and radio, because the theme for 2025 is artificial intelligence and radio. So what would you say? Would you say radio is dying at the time? So what would you say, or what would you say would be the positivity that artificial intelligence could give to radio over time? That's just our last question. And please be brief.
All right, I would. I think that the current guys they're struggling to get out of the box, right? There's a need for a digital transformation within the radio space. I'm not a digital transformation expert, but I know that there are a couple of them out there who can help transition them fully digital. But one of the projects that I handled just before I left Sound City was a new media project, which what it was supposed to be that we move all our properties into the digital space. And it goes beyond that, just moving them to digital space. For radio, I think that there are a lot of pivotal radios that are coming on now. I have a friend who is doing radio differently, but is on Instagram, Scar Production.
Okay.
He's also ex-Sound City. So he has that frequency, does that radio scratch, and then he does his own normal stuff. He started with that, but now he has OAPs, he has content, additional content on Instagram. So it's like you're listening to radio on Instagram, right? And I think it was a very smart one for him because that also gave him some pivots. But I've also seen some very unique radio pivoting where you also move to platforms because it's mobile now. Nobody's going to tune into the FMs except maybe you're driving. In fact, half the time when I drive, I'm probably listening to Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube Music. So it means that you need to get into those platforms where your audience are, live and active. But where Africa, again, some large population of Africa still are not digitally savvy. Let's forget that we live in the city, right? Some people still depend on those transistor radio. Some people have the radio in their phones. They have mobile phones that they go to. Largely, if you go up north, they have Android devices, but they still tune in to listen to the radio because they enjoy what they grew up to have, right?
Sure.
So they like the programs, they like a particular program, they know the time. Even in Oyo, Ibadan, or Ilorin, some grannies still tune in to radio, right? So I don't think it's going to die. I think it's just content is going to change because content is influenced by culture, trends, and of course the people. So I think that those things will change, but I don't think it would die. It's like saying that box TV in the house would die. people still
use them.
If radio was going to die, I don't think the guys who manufacture the EV vehicles, which are modern vehicles, would not put radio in it. The device itself is important. I think that the radio you're speaking about is the FMs and the AMs.
Yes,
right. But they will transition. They will move. So they probably become apps. So if you want to listen to Beat FM or Sound City, you download the app, you click it, and they are streaming based on their app.
So I even think they that's even in advent at the time, because you can actually go to Spotify and
then just see their radios. They have their own stations there as well. But again, I think the advent of AI in it is that, in choice of music, choice of programming, choice of selection. All those things
might be a little bit easy, like the way you do it, a click or a tap, stuff like that. So, man, it's very, very exciting, to have you on the show today. I know our viewers definitely found this useful. Like I said, if you love what we do here at the Tech Talk, you can actually like this video, share this video to somebody that you know is going to be useful to. And don't forget, you can, obviously come on this show. If you'd like to be on the show, you're a tech person, you're a techie, you've got business in tech. We'd love to have you. The door's open, and, we're here to actually accept you with open arms. And this is where we drop the curtain on today's episode of Tech Talk. Until we come your way next week, it's bye for now.